I was a rebel. I mixed with the wrong crowds. School was just really, really boring. And I got the highest in the year. I got a distinction.
Amazing.
Yeah, so I really pushed myself. But that was the only reason that got me into university. I came back and I was offered a permanent job. And then 9/11 happened. But we've had some ups and downs. So I was diagnosed with primary cancer in 2020. I found a lump in my breast. I've always had a positive approach to this because trust me, there were some serious downward spirals as well, right? But I have to pick myself out of there, and it was hard to get yourself out of that pit of doom. I've always tried to look on the bright side of life, and getting a cancer diagnosis is shit, right? At a young age. I'm not that old. You always think that cancer comes for people when they're 80s, 70s, 80s, when you're old, right? But what do you do, Adam? Do you put your head in the sand and just deteriorate every day?
Well, some people do.
And they do, right? But I believe if you do that, then you're letting the cancer win. And it's going to get you sooner rather than later. You're not going to be living the life that you have now.
I totally agree.
If you've got the energy to do it now, do it.
Hi, and welcome to the There's Another Way podcast with me, Adam Halverson.
And me, Pete Dolby. And you've come to the place where each episode we'll be shining a light on authentic people who have chosen an alternative path to their new normal to find another way. In today's episode, we have the immense privilege of sitting down with Teena Gill, an extraordinary individual who holds a very special place in my heart. Teena's journey is both deeply poignant and incredibly inspiring. From overcoming academic challenges to achieving remarkable milestones such as graduating from university, representing the United Kingdom at Walt Disney World, and excelling in a career in property management, her path has been a testament to her resilience and determination. However, amid life's triumphs, Teena was confronted with an unimaginable trial, a devastating health diagnosis during the tumultuous pandemic. Yet, in the face of this heart-wrenching adversity, she radiates resilience and a remarkable spirit. At the age of 47, Teena bravely shares her story of navigating her cancer diagnosis, channeling her focus towards inspiring others in similar circumstances. Join us as we delve into her journey, discovering the incredible strength and positivity she embodies, offering hope and motivation to all those facing similar challenges. All right, here we are.
Exciting.
Well, I'm very honoured to have one of my favourite people in the whole world sitting with us today, Teena Gill, who joined us today for episode 6. Teena, how are you doing?
Good. Thank you for having me.
Great to have you. We've talked about this for a little while.
We have.
And we really appreciate you giving up your time to come and sit with us today to have a chat through your story.
No problem.
And yeah, so I think what we'd like to start with, if that's okay, maybe if we delve a little bit into the past, not too far, but maybe we talk about your childhood and.
You want to go that way?
Well, just brief overview of that, and then obviously school. And we had a chat a few months back, and you told me about your GCSE time and how you turned that around, which is incredible. I want to hear all about that.
Okay.
And obviously, for the purposes of the listeners, we met first 27 years ago, which is absolutely insane, working for a small mouse in Florida. Yeah. But we'll get into that in a little bit of time. Yeah. But yeah, I'd love to hear more about a little bit about your childhood and take it from there.
Okay.
If that's okay.
So, I grew up in a small town called Cranford. I've got one brother. Just living with my parents. I went to school there, and yeah, I didn't pass my GCSEs.
Unbelievable. I've known you as I do now. I can't believe I didn't know that until about
I was a bit of a rebel at school. I didn't really enjoy it.
With a cause or without a cause?
Both. I didn't enjoy school at all.
Right.
I mixed with the wrong crowds. Just school was just really, really boring. GCSEs came and my dad was like, right, you've got to either go to Woolworths to work or you've got to retake them. And I was like, I'm not working in Woolworths. So I retook them, but I did a BTEC as well. And I think at that stage I knew that I wasn't very good at exams. So I
studying and retaining the information for the exam is a pressured scenario?
So I had to retake my English and maths as well. And the retention, it just wasn't me, but it didn't help that I was revising the night before each exam.
Right.
Yeah, so
sounds familiar.
Yeah, I just couldn't do it. I can remember doing it with my friends, having those caffeine tablets to stay up all night. It just wasn't meant to be. I failed every single one of them. I retook my English and maths.
How did that conversation go with your parents?
It was tough. I still do not have my maths to this day.
Really?
So that is, I did it 4 times. I'm not proud of it. I did math, I had a tutor and everything, but I did pass my English, and I did a BTEC in business and finance, and I got the highest in the year. I got a distinction.
Amazing.
Yeah, so I really pushed myself, but that was the only reason that got me into university.
Right.
So what do you think the difference was between doing the GCSE stuff and then the BTEC?
I think because it was mainly coursework and there was no exams involved.
Right.
And the retention was easier to keep in my brain rather than doing examinations. I still managed to pass my GCSEs because the English that I needed to get into university, and I think having the BTEC as a distinction kind of covered the maths element of it to get me into university as well. So it was a bit of hit and miss.
Yeah.
Then I went to uni in Birmingham with Pete. You also followed me there at one stage.
A little bit later.
A bit later on in our years. I did a hotel business management degree, 4-year degree, and part of that was to go to Disney, which was the best year.
Was that part of your course?
Yeah, it was part of my course.
When it first came into your consciousness, I could go and work for Disney.
Yeah, it was. I remember it was Val Cook. She was head of international travel, and she said, when you interview, they will know within the first 90 seconds whether they're going to take you or not.
Amazing.
I was like, what? Are you joking? So they were like, no. And, me and a couple of friends of mine got in, but they decided not to go in the end.
Wow.
So it was just me, basically, on my own, and 3 other people that I didn't know. And that's when we met Pete.
And how did you feel sitting on the plane heading out there?
I don't know. It was a bit of anxiety, scared, first time away from home. But like I said, I was a rebel. I was like, whatever, I'm going to go live my life.
Sorry, just to go back to this rebel theme.
Yeah.
Where do you think it came from? Was it?
I think, so my dad was really strict when I was growing up, and he didn't let me do what my friends were doing, so I just rebelled. And I think it came to the point where my dad and I were very similar. We didn't really get on much, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
But 10 years before he passed away, our relationship got better. I think having the kids as well helped, bring us closer together. And yeah, it was just a clash.
Yeah.
Clash of the Titans every day in our house. And then, it's the whole fact in that generation that parents weren't really around, they were working, so they didn't really have much influence or know what you were doing at school.
Yeah.
It's very different to how it is now. So I think that added a lot of elements to it as well.
Yeah.
So that's where the rebellious came in, that, you can't tell me what to do, I'm going to do it anyways.
Do you have any sort of regrets from that period?
No.
And sort of that mindset, or?
Nope.
Do you want to think about that?
No, I don't. There is, I enjoyed every minute of it, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
Because it's probably made the person that I am today.
Yeah.
So we did Disney. Did it for a year.
And first impressions when you got there? Did you think this is for me, or did you think...
I don't know, I think the first couple of weeks I was still trying to find my feet. If I'm being honest, I didn't know if I would fit in, because everybody had their own kind of groups created at that time. And I went with people who were a little bit boring, let's be honest. And I couldn't click with them. And when you're so far away from home, you have to find people to kind of bring you under their wing. And Pete was one of them.
Oh, really?
Actually. Pete was one of them. And Nicole was one of them as well. So I think that kind of settled me quite quickly. And I was lucky to have an English roommate as well, because in that program, you weren't really allowed to have somebody of the same country in your house. Matt Older, who is one of our friends, was the first face I saw. So you have to have a initiation party when you first get there, right?
Correct.
He was the first face I saw when I opened my eyes, and he's a great friend of ours as well now.
Yeah, so put it into context, it was a year in the sun, living in this beautiful gated...
Getting drunk every night.
Correct. Gated complex with, 2,000 people from all different nationalities.
Yeah.
And it was an international living experience, wasn't it? So
Correct.
A cultural experience. So you'd live with people from all the way around the world, from Japan, France, Norway, Mexico, Canada, and you live together and you learn about their culture and you learn about different people and make friends from all around the world.
And we had to do all those programs, but they also had a very kind of strict policy of you would get terminated for just looking a different way or doing something. I mean, so many people got terminated.
Yeah. It's the US way. So they do that in corporate life as well. They can just march you out the door, can't they?
Immediately.
If your face doesn't fit. So, yeah, a few people got turfed out for not adhering to the rules. You might have struggled.
Maybe.
But hair had to be a certain way, no earrings. It was just really, really strict on their policy. So when I got the job, I was like, oh, you made a decision in 90 seconds. I mean, it's that strict.
But I guess they have... I guess you can either buy into why they're doing it or not. You can either buy into the fact that customer experience and all of that stuff is paramount, or if you don't get it, you probably shouldn't be there. Right.
I always wanted to run my own hotel. That was always my dream from a little... Actually, I'm lying. I wanted to be an air hostess when I was little. I wanted to travel the world and be the trolley dolly that they were. But then I kind of steered towards hotels. And Disney was the perfect place to learn about customer service experience because they're so hot on it.
And it's still with you today, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And how did they do that within 2 days of induction? Because it's still with me as well, and it never leaves you. And
Correct.
I don't know whether it's brainwashing or what, but it never leaves you, does it?
But their customer service is out of this world.
Yeah.
And I then took on a 17-year career in hotels when I came back. So a lot of my friends did a hotel business management degree and decided to do other things, but I wanted to continue. So I did 17 years in hotels, and the experience that I got at Disney helped me through that path because of the customer service experience that I gained there.
Amazing.
I've tried to articulate a lot over the years about why that year was so special, and I don't think I've ever really truly managed it, and I don't know why to this day. But why? I mean, it was how impactful was it for you? Because for me, it's the most pivotal year of my life.
I think we were so young. We were 20, 21, and meeting so many different people from different backgrounds in such a short space of time kind of opened your eyes to the world. That you're not just in this bubble of being on your own at home with your friends. You know, there's so much more out there, and just learning about their cultures, learning about their backgrounds, it just opened my eyes that the world is a bigger place.
And it pushes you outside your comfort zone as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because you're sitting on a plane for a year thinking, I'm not really sure what I'm letting myself in for.
Correct.
You're leaving the safety of home behind you. You don't know what awaits you when you get there.
Yeah.
And you're going there and everyone's out there. It's a clean canvas in some ways, because no one knows you from the past, or if you have any baggage. It's a blank canvas. You're starting from scratch. You're getting to know people from all around the world, and everyone's there to have a great time.
This is it. And one thing I would say, when I went to uni the first year, I hated it because I just couldn't find my people, my tribe.
Yeah.
Disney, the people there never made you feel alone. And I think that's the difference, that we're all here doing the same thing. And having those initiation parties really helped, because they welcome you, right? And they bring you in. It's just a completely different world, because you're so far away from home. What else are you going to do? You can't be, you can't be stuck on your own.
Everyone's in the same situation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was probably the reason I think we're still talking after 27 years.
Like no time's elapsed. What I found really interesting, it was a gated area with lots of apartments. We had a swimming pool, tennis courts, we had basketball. You had public transport to get you to work and back. It was just an epic place.
Nobody used the sports facilities.
Well, that's true. No one used it, yeah. But what I found really interesting, there's one guy, so as Teena said, the recruitment was unbelievable, in that 95% of the people that were there when we were there were just of the same mindset. Everyone's to have a great time.
Yeah.
Never been away from home before. Let's make the most of it. There were a handful of people that just was not for them. So we had one guy saying, this place is a prison because it's a gated community. It's like a prison. Get me out of here. And it's just really interesting how different.
You have to have an open mindset when you go there.
Yeah.
Because it's something you'll never experience anywhere else in your life, I don't think.
No, I don't think so.
And so was it in your second year of uni?
It was my third year, actually.
Third year.
Third year of uni, I got to do a placement in Disney, which is unheard of, really.
Yeah, I've heard of obviously people going to a different country and, doing a work placement or something like that. But yeah, I think getting an opportunity like that is pretty unique.
It's brilliant. So I came back, finished my last year of university, which was the best year for me. Met some amazing people who are still my very, very close friends today.
Do you think that was partly because your mindset had shifted, or?
Yeah, I think there was a lot of issues with people that I lived with in my second year.
Right.
When I came back, I was a different person, and I didn't want to be with people that were just who were just not kind or just not my kind of people.
Yeah.
So then I met other people, Lorna being one of them, who's still my dearest friend to date. And that was the best year of uni life for me, the last year. Because Pete came along as well.
Some first year students that were trying to mislead you and take you down the piss on Broad Street. Yeah, sorry about that.
That's okay. Final year of dissertation. Pete's like, on a Monday night, do you want to go for a beer? I was like, mate, I got handed my dissertation in a week. He's like, it's only one beer. Right. It's only one beer. 10 beers later, 3 a.m. Nicole's calling, saying, where are you?
Nicole used to have some class on a Monday evening, didn't she? And we'd like, should we go down Broad Street on a Monday? So I'd like to put on record an apology for distracting your father. Yeah.
Don't worry, I got top marks in my dissertation.
There we go.
Amazing. See?
The beer helped.
Exactly.
But no, Pete was with us in the final year, which was great as well. After uni...
Sorry, just on uni, do you remember? So I knew that you were there. There were a couple of other people there. Nicole was there. We walked, she said, right, I'll show you where the student union bar is. So great. So we walked in the student union bar. As we approached the bar, a guy came up to us and said, did you lot work at Disney?
Yeah, he did.
We're like, what? I said, yeah, we did. He said, I went out there after you guys and I recognised you from photographs on people's walls. That was a weird moment.
That was. And to be honest, I think we had a reunion not long ago. But I think the consensus was that our year was probably the best year. And even people after that have said that it's never been the same.
I know, well, my sister went out after me. I know someone else whose sister went out after them. They've said the same, that they had a great time, but not in the same level. And when we went back on holiday a few years ago, one of the ladies that was working there when we were still there, is still there today. And she came out to see us and she was just she was almost well, she was just gushing. She just thought it was just so nice to see. It was, and she said it was such a great year that year, and it stuck out in her mind.
So just to set the scene as well, what year was it? Because obviously
96,
97.
97, 98. Yeah.
Because, I mean, I guess you could argue Disney was almost at its prime then, wasn't it?
It felt like the US was at its prime.
And the US,
everyone wanted to be in the US.
Yeah.
Everyone looked up to it. It felt like it was the place to be. But I agree, it was its prime. It was also pre-social media. I used the internet for the first time.
We were literally having this conversation the other day when we went out for drinks that Andy and I set up our Hotmail accounts
I did.
in Epcot.
I did. It's the first time I didn't know what to do.
27 years that we've had the same email address.
But that meant that we could have the parties, we could have a great time,
Correct.
and it wasn't blasted all over social media or videos of
Oh God, if we had social media back then,
can you imagine?
Geez.
There would have been a few more people terminated, I think. Wouldn't they?
Yeah, there would have been 100%.
But for us, we've used it as a mechanism for keeping in touch and retaining
all the
those
memories are stored in our brain.
But it also seems like it was a bit of a... it was almost like everything just aligned. You know, it was like right timing.
It was.
Sort of almost...
It was like the universe was saying, you
yeah.
people all need to be together at the same time.
Right people, right timing, sort of Disney at its prime.
Yeah.
And like you said, America... You know, so it does start to make sense now why you guys are so enthused about it.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, came back with a bucket load of amazing friends that we still see all the time. I came back with a wife. Well, not a wife. I came back with a girlfriend who's now my wife. I didn't buy one out there. And I came back with $70, which is my share of the PlayStation, and everything else. I had a great time out there. Some people came back with tens of thousands of dollars, didn't they? We travelled. We just
I think that time was for travelling and living life.
Yeah.
We were so young.
It was.
There's no point, and you're right. There are other people who did bring tens of thousands. Mate, no, we would have spent it all out there.
Would you recommend that your boys go out and do the same thing now?
My boys are not into Disney.
No,
it's really sad. I think that generation passed. You've either got to be in it or not. They're just not into it.
no.
I would recommend that they do some sort of gap year if they do go to university to go abroad, and I would encourage them not to do uni at home. I would encourage them to go live your life, sort out how you can survive yourself, but they're just not into I would, if they were interested 100%, I would say to them, if there's something you want to do, if there's somewhere that you want to learn about culture, awareness, and a bigger picture of what the world is about, then go. Absolutely.
And just on your two boys, you mentioned, so what their ages again?
17 and 12 they're going to be in next month.
Yeah, then so back to uni, you graduated.
So I graduated in 99.
Yeah. Would you recommend doing this? Would you do it a bit later and travel first, or
No,
to your
because
point?
after 99 I was given the opportunity to go back to America.
Yeah.
So I did an 18-month...
was it 18 months? I thought it was a
18
year.
months, yeah. I did an 18-month stint at Marriott in Atlanta that Pete came to visit
Yeah, we
as
did,
well.
yeah.
Wow.
Which was through the same lady who got me into Disney. So it was an internship. Mm-hmm. And again, it was a great experience. I learnt so much, became a supervisor very quickly. That was hard graft because majority of the population is black and they're older. And then you've got these people...
Your colleagues?
Yeah, my colleagues.
Okay, yeah.
But the whole of Atlanta is mainly black population. And then you've got these young whippersnappers who are coming from England trying to supervise you. It didn't go down very well. So you had to buy their trust
Yeah, wow.
quickly.
But also, and I'm assuming it's one of those like mega Marriotts that we don't get very many over
It was the Atlanta Marriott Marquis, so it was one of the
yeah.
biggest. It was massive. I think it was like, I don't know, 3,000 rooms in there.
Yeah,
But that was great experience as well. And then I came back and I was offered a permanent job. And then 9/11 happened. My bags were packed. I was going, and the next day 9/11 happened, so they had to retract my job. It was devastated. Otherwise I would have, still been out there. But it wasn't meant to be. So I then pursued my career in hotels after that. I ended up getting a job at the Ramada up the road. I lasted there 3 weeks because the general manager was just awful.
Really?
My God.
The standards, I guess, were subpar.
So poor. And I was like, I know this is literally up the road from my house, but I don't want to work here. So I was then I then interviewed for Hilton.
I guess as well, you must have been a bit like, on one hand, job in America.
It's a massive culture shock. I went into some kind of depression.
Yeah, well, I was going to say. I
was probably depressed for a good month.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, my world has ended. I really wanted to go. Why me?
Yeah.
All of that rubbish. Well, I had to snap out of it because it wasn't going to happen, right? So I got this job. I lasted there 3 weeks. I was like, no, not for me. Then I got an interview at the Hilton on Edgware Road. Again, a massive hotel, 2,000 rooms. So it was in par with something like the Marriott. I got the job and I stayed there for 6 years.
Wow.
I'm just trying to think if I've stayed there. I'm sure I have.
Yeah, everybody stayed there.
Yeah,
Metropole.
yeah.
Everybody stayed there.
Yeah.
So I stayed there for 6 years.
Oh, it's the one with the sort of like wooden, wood front sort of frontage.
It's on Parade Street, just opposite the station, Edgware Road Station.
Yeah, no, I know exactly where you mean. Yeah, okay.
On the corner.
Yeah.
So I did that. I forgot to mention, while I was at uni, I was at the Ibis. That's where I did most of my experience, because in the Hilton, I remember my interview, the guy was like, I don't really care what degree you've done, what experience do you have? I was
Really?
like, mate, I've just done a 4-year degree.
Oh, took me a long time to get there. Yeah, exactly.
He wasn't interested.
Really?
And thank God that I had the experience from the Ibis, from Disney. So I did that for 6 years. And then I got pregnant with my first boy. And obviously you can't work in hotels when you're a mother because the hours are... I had to make a sacrifice, really. So I left. I did a local job when my eldest was born for about 18 months. But I missed the buzz of the city. And then I fell into facilities. I got a job at Marks and Spencer, just like as their front of house manager. They were looking for somebody who had customer experience. So I went there and I was there for 6 years? And then the rest is history. And then I just moved into the facilities kind of career path because that's how my journey kind of led me.
And so just to be clear with facilities, so I guess obviously it's a little bit more sort of behind the scenes.
It is, but there's a lot of customer service issues. So it goes hand in hand. Now, a lot of people want your hospitality, concierge kind of service, 5-star hotel experience when it comes to facilities because they want the creme de la creme. So it kind of, you need to have both hand in hand. But so I just pursued my career in facilities and that's where I still am to this day.
But it's funny when you look back and there's certain sequence of events that happen that steer you on your path to where you are today, isn't it? Like 9/11 and
all those hurdles.
Coming back and not really feeling it.
Yeah, it was difficult, but you have to keep going.
Yeah,
you can't stick in your pit of doom.
No. I always remember, I could just go back to Disney briefly, that they as part of your induction program, they said you'll be a honeymoon period. You'll have 4, 5, 6 weeks where you're on a high. Then there'll be a big dip, and you'll have a bit of a lull after that.
I don't think I was ever homesick.
No, it didn't happen the whole time I was there. Because
there were a few people who were.
Every time I was out for a bit, I was like, Andy, is your lull hit yet? No. So we parted for my God, it hit when I went back home in February to a small village in East Yorkshire.
The lull is just real. It's really real. When you've been somewhere so eccentric and so with so many passionate people, and then you come back on your own and you're like, oh.
And you get back and everyone's doing the same thing.
Yeah, where are all my people?
I haven't seen you for a week. Where have you just been away for a year?
Yeah.
But
so that's my career. But we've had some ups and downs. So I was diagnosed with primary cancer in 2020. I found a lump in my breast and I just went to get it checked out. The nurse was like, oh, it's middle of the pandemic. So I went to GP surgery. She's like, well, we just get it checked out. It's going to be about a 2-week wait. But thankfully I had private healthcare. So I got an appointment the next day to see a breast surgeon, and my breast surgeon isn't very good at giving good news. His face says it all. I mean, I've known him now for a long time, so I kind of know. But he had basically said to me that he was 99% sure, and we did all the checks and everything, that I had cancer. So that was that. And it took about 10 days before I started chemotherapy. So my journey would be chemo, a mastectomy, and radiotherapy.
Right in the middle of the pandemic.
Right in the middle of the pandemic.
And sorry, just to what were sort of the signals that you were like, I need to go and get this checked out?
It was just the lump was really big.
Right.
And it just didn't feel right. That's what. But I had no pain, nothing else. I was physically well, so that was the only kind of signal. Thankfully, I did go, because apparently the cancer had been growing in my body for about 6 months.
Wow.
And if I'd gone earlier, might have been a different kind of diagnosis. So I was diagnosed with stage 3 aggressive breast cancer. 10 days before chemo started, they give you a tour around the clinic where you go and have your treatment. And I was just like, mate, I can't do this. And that's where I met my friend, who was she was amazing. She was like, it's nothing, you can do it. She looked beautiful. It was like nothing was wrong. So she gave me a kick up the arse, and I still remember to this day. She was like, when I gave you my number, I was like, oh my God, she's gonna be ringing me and calling me and do my head in. But we're like, the friendship we've made is that we just have to send one message and we laugh, like it's belly laugh. We just laugh at crap. But that's the kind of friendship that we've created.
Yeah.
And so the context was you were having a tour,
and I met her there.
Just literally on the tour.
Yeah, the nurse basically said, I'm going to introduce you to somebody. And that one person made a difference to me and my mental state at that stage, because I was in the state of, this is not me, I can't do this. That one person made a difference.
What's she called?
Lax. Yeah. She's amazing. Honestly. So chemo started, and I decided to take it head on. I kept on working. It was my choice. I didn't want to stop working. We were all working from home anyways, so I didn't have to see anybody per se.
Harvey and the boys knew you, obviously.
Yeah.
That must have been a difficult conversation as well.
My boys were quite young at that stage, so I don't think they understood as much. But yeah, it was difficult. But, they saw me lose my hair, and I was very open with them that this is thing, my body's going to change, I'm going to lose my hair. But I had amazing wigs, which were like...
It was amazing.
You didn't even know.
I know. It was incredible.
They were real hair. So when I was on camera, a lot of people didn't know at work at that stage, because I didn't want a pity party, as I said to Pete earlier.
Just sort of with that decision of... Sorry, I've sort of cut your question off, but I was just going to say, sort of with that decision to continue working, why do you think you did that?
Because I wanted a purpose.
Yeah.
I couldn't just sit at home and just be boohoo, poor me. I needed something to keep my brain from forgetting about what I was going through. And that helped me a lot. I mean, work have been amazing. They've never pressured me to work full time. They've never pressured me into anything. In fact, they want me to stop. And I'm like, I'll tell you when I want to stop, kind of thing. So we went through that. and I went into remission in 2021. So that was in remission for a year. And then in November of 2022, I found another lump on my mastectomy scar. And the doctors had said it was a local reoccurrence, which is, it happens. I was like, okay. So we surgically removed that, and things were okay. They said, there's nothing else in your body at this stage. Actually, they did a CT scan. There's lots of different scans that you can do. There's a CT and an MRI, and there's a PET scan. And the difference is a CT is mainly above your shell. The MRI goes a bit deeper into your bones, and the PET scan goes through all your nerves and blood vessels. So they did a CT scan, and I think from torso up, and there was nothing in. And then they pressurised me into getting a bone scan. And I was reluctant because I was like, why? Why do you want to kind of go into the lion's den? I don't have any pain. I don't have any issues. So I had said no. But then I thought, let's just do it. And unfortunately, the scans came back with lesions in my hips. So the cancer was now in my bones, which means that it's now metastatic, which means it goes to stage 4, which means it's now incurable. So I had something called CyberKnife, which is targeted radiotherapy in my hips, which eradicated that. And I was on immunotherapy that stage, so immunotherapy is, it's a targeted treatment. It's not chemo. It targets the cells that are cancerous and makes them non-cancerous, if it works. So that was in December 2022. Did the CyberKnife in January 23. And then it just got progressively worse. So then this cancer decided to spread into my spine. So we stopped one treatment and started another immunotherapy.
Just because it clearly wasn't...
It wasn't working.
Yeah.
And then that decided to go into my liver. So now I'm on chemotherapy again. But it's oral chemotherapy, so there's lots of different types I do this at home. One thing I will say is when I first got diagnosed, I decided to become an advocate for myself. So I did a lot of reading, I did a lot of research, lots of PubMed papers, and my oncologist and I have a running joke because he's like, you either come in the morning or the afternoon. I'm not having you in between because you're going to have so many bloody questions and you're basically going to ruin my day because you're going to tell me what to do and I'm just going to sit here and put my head in my hands and just write whatever you say.
But that is, you told us that when we met in the summer, which is just amazing.
Because I think so many people just accept their fate and they don't do the research. So I do a lot of alternative medicines as well. I have a functional oncologist who basically just looks at alternative medicine. So I'm on a lot of different supplements to block certain pathways.
Which ones?
Which ones, mate?
Which ones are you not? Which ones
are you not on? I take. I've got to remember this. So I take vitamin D. I take black seed oil. I take melatonin. I take a mushroom tablet. It's got like 15 different mushrooms in them. I take oh my God, my brain. I take a bone strengthening one. I take modified citrus something. I take a variety of other stuff.
Yeah.
But I have to make sure that it doesn't. So my chemo works 1 week on, 1 week off. So this is my on week, so I don't take any supplement. I take one supplement, which is the mushroom, and I take a probiotic as well. Mm-hmm. But on the off week, I take all those supplements. I also work with a homeopathic doctor because I need to function, right? And I don't have time to not function. So I take all of this to help with the side effects. And touch wood, you know, I have crappy days, but the main side effect right now is like fatigue, like always tired.
But you're still working.
But I still work.
You're still working. You're still managing the house.
Still managing the house. Still managing my boys, because I can do it right now.
Yeah.
And I don't believe in waiting now. Life's too short. I have to go grab life. So I get scanned every 3 months, and in those 3 months, I make sure that there's lots of fun stuff.
So I'd love to come back to the treatment side.
Yeah.
But just going back a little bit from almost that, from finding the lump to the first diagnosis onwards, I mean, could you sort of give a bit of a flavour on the kind of emotional journey?
So the chemo, if I'm honest, was okay. It was manageable. There's a lot of scaremongering.
Yeah.
They give you all this paperwork and they give you all the side effects. So straight away, you think you're going to get all of these side effects, right? And you just wait and you wait and you wait.
And that was administered via the valve.
So I have a port fitted, which again was a godsend, because a PICC line is that goes into your vein in your arm and it stays in there and it's super painful. But I have a port which is basically a plug. So it goes under the skin. I would recommend a port to anybody. It's like a twilight surgery that you have. It goes under the skin and the chemo is administered through a plug. And you just have the chemo. You don't feel anything. Like, you don't feel like it's going through your veins. It doesn't burn. It doesn't hurt. It's nothing. You don't even know it's going in until you go home and you experience all the side effects.
How long does it take for those to kick in?
It depends, really. It depends on your body, depends on a lot of things. Some people don't. And this is the thing. Everybody's journey is different. You're not going to have the same side effects as everybody else. You're not going to feel the same thing as everybody else. I've always had a positive approach to this, because trust me, there were some serious downward spirals as well, right? But I have to pick myself out of there. And it was hard to get yourself out of that pit of doom. But I felt walking really helped. I used to walk every day just to get out of the house and get some fresh air, get your blood circulating. Exercise is the best medicine for when you're going through cancer treatment. If you can be bothered. 2 weeks of Christmas has done nothing.
The first episode we recorded was with a friend of ours, Paul Smith, and he had really bad cancer in his appendix, wasn't it? And he trained for the Ironman.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, he just had to get out and start training.
Yeah, it's mind over matter. Yeah. It really is. I met my dear friend who unfortunately passed away, Caroline. I think about her a lot. She, first day I met her, she wasn't in a good place at all, right? And she said to me, she goes, "Are you in the right place? The gym's over there." I was like, "No, I've come for chemo." She couldn't believe that I was here for treatment. She's like, "Why do you look so happy?" I was like, "Well, why do you look so sad?" You know? Things just weren't working for her. Unfortunately, she passed away. And that was hard. She passed away probably 2 years after her diagnosis, but her cancer spread into her brain. Things went wrong in the NHS. It was just a really unfortunate situation.
How old was she, Teena?
She was 45.
Really?
Yeah. And she was so lovely. I read an article once and I don't know if this is true or not, but a doctor wrote an article basically saying that if you go into chemo unhappy and thinking it's not going to work, your cells shut down and it's not going to work. You have to believe that the medicine is going to make you better.
Almost like a placebo.
Right. Because you don't know what they're putting in you. It's poison, right? But the poison is what's going to make you better, hopefully. But alternative therapy, food is also a thing. So I don't have dairy, I don't eat red meat, I don't drink alcohol anymore, because the cancer in your body is caused by inflammation. So, and all of those categories cause inflammation in your body. I don't know if the alternative is making a difference, but I have to believe that it's doing something, right?
And all those alternative things that you talked about, is that stuff the research you've done on your own, or is it just stuff you've kind of amalgamated over?
I've done lots of research on my own. I've on a lot of different Facebook groups that are really helpful. So it's not about posting, it's about collecting information. And I go to my oncologist with all of these things. So the chemo that I'm currently on now, the normal regime is 2 weeks on, 1 week on. But there's a trial in the US, and I wish the UK was ahead of its time, but the US is so far ahead when it comes to cancer treatments, etc. But there's a trial in the US where they do 1 week on, 1 week off, and I told my oncologist, I'm not doing 2 weeks on, 1 week off. I'm doing 1 week on, 1 week off, and here's the bloody trial. He was like, okay.
but is that a? It sounds like you've got a good doctor, because it sounds like he's open-minded.
He's very open-minded. He does normally say what I tell him to say.
He's a professor, right?
He's a professor. He's one of the top professors. I mean, going back to the immunotherapy last year, he was very clear he didn't want me to do it. Because he was like, the cancer's in your bones, this is not going to help you. I was like, yeah, but I'm not ready to go back onto chemo. So he reluctantly let me do it twice, but he didn't say I told you so.
Yeah.
Right? Because he's very good at listening and accepting that it's my life, it's my body, I need to be ready for whatever you're going to throw at me. I'm not just going to do it because you say I'm going to do it, when I need to go back and do some research and find out what else I can put into this kind of protocol. He's not very happy about supplements, but I'm like, well, I'm still going to take them, so
yeah,
whatever.
So just, I guess, so my old man's a dentist, which obviously is, it's not in that category or caliber, but he keeps himself very involved in, and funny enough, his main specialty was removing amalgam fillings, so like mercury, heavy metals. And his biggest thing has always been about supplementation. But where I'm going with this is that one of his biggest frustrations over decades is how the medical community will not accept that supplementation is even a thing in some cases, or a lot of cases. But also that, it's kind of, it's just, unless it's that blunt thing I've been taught at university, or I've been taught this way, it's like a little bit of a rejection of kind of. So I don't know if that is that what you've experienced?
100%. My oncologist is 65 years old. He's a professor, but I think that medicine is so far ahead that it's really hard for them to keep up with new things that are coming out, right? But this is where you have to become your own advocate and find that research and go to your doctors and say, I've got this. And one thing I will say, I won't do something that is going to cause me harm. I will make sure that it's from a an article that's been published medically, right? And this is where
Peer-reviewed
and this is where I think the US is so far ahead, because that's where I get most of my research from. But I think in the UK, they don't have that knowledge, and supplements, oncologists always frown upon supplements, and I still don't know why. It's very rare to find an oncologist who will be supportive of extra supplements that you're doing, because in their mind, and I'll say it today, cancer is big money, right? I honestly think there is a cure, but the government will release it because it costs too much. It's making too much money for people, and 1 in 2 people now have cancer in this country.
By the way, I know quite a few people who share that opinion.
It's ridiculous.
From I mean, Pete knows I quite like a conspiracy theory, but I know people who've actually, engaged and interacted with some pretty big pharmaceutical companies, and again, I've never investigated it because I'm like, that can't be true. But I'm as cynical as you on
honestly
what the reality potentially could be.
31 people die every day from metastatic cancer. Yeah, and that's ridiculous. That you can't provide a cure for something as big as cancer, but you can make a jab in less than 2 years and have the whole country act like sheep and get them to put it in their arm. And honestly, I think that I got metastatic cancer after I took the COVID jab.
The timing works out as well, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot
There's a lot out there about that as well.
There's a lot out there.
Right?
Yeah.
Is it because, I mean, we could talk about this till the cows come home, but is it because they want to do a big reset in the world by killing off a lot of people because there's too many people in the world? It's just not very nice. 1 in 2 people have cancer now.
Have or will have?
Have.
In the UK?
In the UK. There's so many people now. And what's worse is in my cancer unit, there's women in there who are less than 30 who have cancer. I mean, I'm 47, going to be 48. I've lived a good life. These girls are in their 20s, 30s. What life have they lived? It's shocking. And conspiracy theories, I'm all out there for that.
Well, I think conspiracy theory is a term which I find quite frustrating because it almost alludes instantly to the fact that it could be complete. It's just some lunatic guy sitting in his basement who's just coming up with stories. But the reality is that, again, if you look at COVID, I don't care. I'll say what I want. It's our freaking podcast. No, but if you look at, for example, the way that COVID was approached, I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I don't doubt it's a serious virus. But what I can't understand is why were the government so quick to not entertain therapeutics?
And how long does it take to make a jab in real history time for something like that, right?
Yeah.
Was it normally 7 to 10 years?
Yeah. But they created something in less than, 18 months? And that's what I believe, that my cancer got metastatic because of the COVID jab. My situation is what it is now. I can't reverse it. I'm always going to have cancer till the day I die.
Yeah.
Right? And it's a shit position to be in, let's be honest. But I choose life right now. And what will happen when it happens, that's what is up to the universe.
So did your first diagnosis come pre the jab?
No.
No. Okay.
Interesting. No, it didn't, because it was May 2020. The first jab was in 2021.
Okay.
Yeah. But there is some theory, and I think for me it's about finding somebody to blame. But I did read up that breast cancer is related to grandparents who've had prostate cancer, and both my granddads had prostate cancer. So I will go back to my oncologist and say, is this theory correct? And if he says yes, then I can blame them. There's no even someone to blame.
I heard that somewhere as well. It's related to prostate on this. On
So
and I've heard that.
Both of them had it. So, you know, when my time's up, I'll be looking for them and saying, you know, you did this to me.
But I think what's really good is as much as we're sort of, let's say, having a fairly, I don't know, sort of, what's the word? We're having a conversation which is sort of trying to find reasons. You're not angry about it. You don't.
I was angry, Adam. I've been angry, but what is anger going to get me? I can't sit here and say, poor me, boo-hoo, why is it me? Right? Why would it be anybody?
It's going to drain energy, waste energy.
Absolutely. I can't be angry anymore. I have a great therapist. I read a lot on death, not to be morbid, just to understand, because I've accepted the fact that my lifespan is going to be shorter than others, right? It may not be, but the theory and the odds against it is that's how it's going to be. And if I can learn about what happens when you die, etc., and I can explain it to my family, it's less traumatic, I guess. I'm sure it'll be traumatic for them, but for me, it's more like, okay, I understand what's going to happen. This is what's going to happen. So you guys need to accept that these are the stages. But mostly, I don't think about cancer. I just think about my day. Only when I have to take my medication, it's like boring. It's relentless.
Do you feel though that you've got used to it now?
Yeah.
Because I'm sure, again, going back to sort of the emotional roller coaster, I'm sure at first your brain would have been like, what about the kids? What about this?
All of that. And in my mind, I want to stay alive for 5 years, because then my eldest will be 16. And I think he'll be old enough to understand.
Youngest,
will be 16.
Yeah.
So he'll understand, I hope, at that stage. Anything above that is a bonus, right? Yeah, I think about the kids and I think about my husband, but when you're not here, you don't have that control. And they'll just have to get on with it. As harsh as it sounds.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're going to have to.
Well, it's the truth. It's the reality.
Fact. It's the reality.
Yeah.
I'm not here anymore. You're going to have to just get on with it. I have organised my own funeral because this is something I wanted to do. And it's going to be a great party. You're going to love it. You're going to love it.
You're so well organised.
Yeah, because it was that if I've got the power to do it now, then, you know, it's less one thing for them to worry about.
So just going back a little bit, touching on your rebel childhood, but, you know, not a lot of people approach these. I have no idea how I would approach a similar situation. I guess no one does. But where do you think your approach, mindset, view has come from? Because, you know, not every, like your friend, unfortunately, you know, it didn't sound circumstantially that it went her way, but even still, it didn't sound like her mindset was great.
It wasn't. It wasn't from day one.
Is it a combination of your life experiences that's kind of...
I don't know. I've always tried to look on the bright side of life. And getting a cancer diagnosis is shit, right? At a young age. I'm not that old. You always think that cancer comes for people when they're 80s, 70s, 80s, when you're old, right? But what do you do, Adam? Do you put your head in the sand and just deteriorate every day?
Well, some people do.
And they do, right? But I believe if you do that, then you're letting the cancer win. And it's going to get you sooner rather than later. You're not going to be living the life that you have now.
I totally agree.
If you've got the energy to do it now, do it.
But it's funny talking about COVID, by the way, just as a slight side note, is I have a theory that anxiety makes COVID worse. And worrying about COVID makes it worse. And I'm convinced it does.
All those people that died, that had COVID on their death certificate, what happened to flu that year? What happened to pneumonia that year? How do we know that they didn't have underlying health conditions? We don't know, right?
And we weren't seeing a continual ticker of the winter flu virus from the year before.
Nothing. And the media just...
I had to turn it off. I turned all
it's
notifications off.
It's what the media is telling you. You don't know what's
was,
happening. You don't know how many people actually died.
Exactly. And I think the fear porn that particularly Sky News and a few other outlets was so bad at doing. Really? It worries me so much how much that must have impacted people's mindsets during that period.
The mental health element of it all was ridiculous.
And we're still feeling the effects of it, I think, with the younger generation. We've got a psychologist coming on in a couple of weeks' time to talk about general anxiety disorder, because it's sky high with what
the teenagers, what they've gone through is just...
Well, but also some of your friends with treatment being impacted.
You know, so just coming back to your question, I've decided to become positive over it because I don't want... So I'm living with cancer.
Yeah.
Cancer's not living with me. That makes sense.
Absolutely.
You're tackling it head on. You're not running away with fear.
I know what's coming.
And you're a force of nature. And I've tried to explain this. I think it's so inspiring. You told me the other day I'm not an inspirational person. I mean, you're kidding me. I mean, but you're tackling it head on. You're positive. You know, you're working with what you've got. And not only that, you're helping other people. You're going out of your way now to try and help other people. Just
one person. If I can help one person.
So you're working with a charity?
So I'm working with a charity called Future Dreams, they're dedicated to breast cancer patients. I've had the senior leadership team of my company reach out to me, and to me that's like I'm just a small fish in the pond. As I'm working with one of the heads with this charity to see what we can do for them as a company, because I go there and I did the race for life for cancer research. I won't do it again, because if I compare two charities, Future Dreams is a very small charity, and I know that whatever money they make, it goes into the people. I don't know where the cancer research money goes. There's another thing about the whole charity basis. How do we actually know that they're doing research?
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where is that money going? I raised $5,000 for that charity. Is it going in the wages? Going into admin? How much is actually going into getting a cure for cancer?
A lot of them are businesses.
Absolutely. All of them are.
We all know that, yeah.
All of them are. So I refuse to give money to big charities now. I'm not doing it. Because it's not bringing me any worth to what I'm going through. You're not giving me anything back.
But I think what you've got is a really healthy, positive, but sort of cynical, positively cynical view on it, which is realistic. And I think this is sometimes again where I get frustrated. Not that I'm medical, not that I have any training, but I think sometimes it's so easy for people to just assume that people just know what they're doing, that they're right, they're up to speed. It's all you can do, and it feels that your sort of approach to this. It almost even sounds like your doctor is almost being like, hey, you could be right.
Well, yeah, because I don't know what I'm doing is right. I'm just going to go with my gut.
You're dealing with what's right for you.
Right,
though.
I'm doing what I think is right for me.
Yeah.
And if there's a glimmer of hope that the alternative way is going to help me, then I'm going to take it. Because it's not doing me any harm. I haven't seen anything that's saying that, no, it's not good for you.
What do you say? Because obviously Steve Jobs is a high-profile case of someone who, I guess you could argue, took a similar... Well, he rejected chemo, I think, right, was his story.
Yeah.
And I think it's a real shame, because he's such a high-profile person who tried to take his own alternate view and path, But obviously now everybody uses him as this sort of example.
So there are people out there who have refused chemo. I don't think I'm brave enough to do that because I need to prolong my life. And there are times where I've thought, I don't want to do chemo, right? I don't want to lose my hair again. But that's just vanity. My limbs are still alive. I'm still alive. I'm not brave enough to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And to me, it does seem that, I guess the success stories you hear are kind of a hybrid, as in...
They are. And how do you actually know that they're not fabricated in any way for people to just buy the product?
Yeah, absolutely.
Business again. Like, you know, we can talk about CBD oils and the THC oils and all of that, right? You don't know what is actually going in your body. You don't know what effects it's going to make. And that worries me a little bit. So I will only go to people that I trust but I'm not brave enough not to do chemo.
Yeah, and I think if I would be in the same position, I'm sure.
Because it's about prolonging life.
Yeah.
Yeah? And the crap that comes with it, you're going to have to deal with it. But if it keeps you alive, that's a bonus.
Of course, yeah. And in terms of the next scan, he says tomorrow, Teena,
Tomorrow.
Is it? Yeah. Is this the 3-monthly scan?
This is the 3 months. And I've had crappy scans all last year. It was progression. But I've got a good feeling about tomorrow. Because my blood work is good. The doctor seemed like he was happy. I've got some skin mets as well, which he felt that were reducing. So I'm hoping that we start the new year with some good results.
Amazing. Keep our fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you say that, you know, stage 4 means it's incurable. So, for example, let's say you get a good scan tomorrow. What could that mean?
So there are various kind of stages, I guess. So you can get a scan that shows stable, which means there's no growth anywhere else, which is great. At this stage, that's all I'm looking for.
Yeah.
You could get a scan that shows a reduction in tumours, which is also good news. You can also get a scan that shows no evidence of disease, which means all your cancer cells are dormant. That doesn't mean that you don't have cancer. It just means all your cancer cells are not doing anything at this stage.
And what could have impacted or affected them to the point where that's the outcome? Is it just the treatments?
Treatments, and scanning diet and all of the
chemo
stuff that I talked about, It's possible to get to no evidence of disease, which would be a massive win. But tomorrow, I'm just looking for a stable scan.
So I guess what is, and so tell me if I'm asking too direct questions, but what are you hoping for, really? Like
in life, right now?
Yeah, what's
longevity.
Yeah.
Just to be alive as possible as I can but to be able to do it as normal as possible.
Yeah.
I don't want to be in a situation where I'm bedridden, because that's not quality of life. I choose quality of life over quantity.
And you've been going for it, haven't you? The last 6 to 12 months.
12 months
in terms of the
everything.
epic
3 holidays last year, concerts. Yeah.
What were some of the highlights?
Oh my God, the holidays. I did Thailand last year, then I did Morocco a month later, then I did New York a month later after that. I love travelling, and if I'm able to do it, I will do it. Just being with people that I want to be with. One thing that cancer has taught me, there are a lot of people who bring their own drama because they don't know how to deal with it, and that's okay. You know, that's you. But I'll park you for now because I don't have the energy.
Absolutely. The one thing which is really pressing in my mind, and you know, we listened to that podcast I shared with you yesterday about sort of mental health. You know, the way that this podcast basically was almost like mental health's gone too far the other way, and as in people are finding very, very small things very, very difficult.
Yeah.
Do you find sometimes you're around people and you're like,
My God,
Seriously?
all the time, Adam. I'm like, mate, you ain't got a problem.
Yeah.
But I don't say that because for them it's trivial, right? Because what I get in return is, oh, but your problems are so much bigger. My answer to that always is, your problem it means a lot to you. So that's your problem.
It's sort of in
and
context.
it's a big problem for you. My problem is my problem. You can't compare, right? If the problem that you have is causing you issues, then you need to deal with that. But yes, to your answer, I think sometimes, mate, you don't know what you are. Like, this trivial things. Oh, my cat. I'm like, come on, guy.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
But you're right. Mental health has gone the other way.
Yeah, and obviously I'm really glad that it's getting
Yeah.
it's getting the attention it deserves. But we also are kind of starting to move into it, especially with COVID, teenagers coming out of COVID. I'm seeing even people in my close network who are, again, I don't mean to be mean, but fragile.
They're using it in the wrong way.
Yeah.
But I think as companies, they will start to pick up on it and think, okay, I have people who are like off work with stress because they can't. My job isn't stressful, but I'm like, why are you stressed? Just calm down. It's just a job. You're not saving lives.
Yeah, absolutely.
But hoping that it will come back to where it should be.
And I guess a follow-on question from that is, you said you did 3-4 trips, and good on you. But I think, so I have this very weird, morbid saying that I think I've picked up from someone else, which is, we're all going to die, and that's a good thing. The reason I mean that is because obviously I want to live as long as I can. But actually the beauty of life is that you die. So you have to do something with your life.
Correct.
And I think I struggle with it all the time because, I'm very grateful for what we've got, but I know I could be doing more. And sometimes I'm challenging myself, which is, am I waiting for something to give me such a smack in the head?
Right. So you're right. And if I didn't have a cancer diagnosis, I would be that same person. I'd be like, well, we'll do it next year, or we'll wait till next year. I don't have time. And the advice I would give to anybody is, don't wait, because it doesn't matter if you've got a cancer diagnosis or you've got whatever. Nobody knows what's going to happen tomorrow. Nobody, right? So live your life for today. Don't worry about tomorrow. It's one day at a time. That's all you can do.
You hear some stories about people that's saving everything for their retirement. They retire and then...
I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
Like, I would rather spend my money and have memories with my children, and they can think, wow, we did so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, money comes and goes. They'll be all right.
I saw something the other day and it said 15 years ago our parents said to us, you can either have Christmas presents or go and have an epic holiday.
My children would always choose a holiday.
And for 15 years they've been doing epic holidays.
Which
They've remembered
makes
every
sense.
single holiday.
Absolutely.
But they don't remember any of the presents they got before they went on
No,
holiday.
because presents are they're just nothing. They're materialistic, right?
Ad's dropped a classic this year, didn't he? It's not Christmas presents, it's Christmas presence, as in being present.
Present, that's
Not
very
about-
good.
Yeah,
It's true. It is about being present
Yeah.
in the moment.
Yeah, I struggle with it, but I need to get better at it. But
I think we all do, to be honest.
But there's so many
because-
distractions.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to book loads of crap on one day, and Harvey goes mad. He's like, one thing,
Yeah.
not 5.
Yeah.
He's like, you're going to cancel anyways.
Right. Do you find you having to kind of pick and choose
Yeah,
what you
I do.
what you
And some days
yeah.
I'm tired and I'll just cancel.
Yeah.
Got to use the cancer card whenever you can.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
I've got cancer, I can't come.
And I know it's difficult to too far in advance. Obviously, you've got your scan tomorrow. But what is next? What have you got left to do? What kind of cool stuff do you want to fill your calendar?
I want
with?
to climb Kilimanjaro.
Do you?
Yeah.
Wow.
And we're actually looking at that at work currently, part of the CSR program, Corporate Social Responsibility Giving Back. So that is one thing that is on my bucket list,
Well,
if I can do it.
it's not a bad thing to have on the bucket list.
yeah, absolutely.
I've always wanted to do it.
Wow.
I don't know how far I'll get.
Yeah.
I'll give it a good bloody try.
Wow.
Yeah.
Too right. Yeah.
I don't really have anything else.
Any of the
that's
trips
pressing.
planned?
Maybe.
Right.
Not yet, but we're talking about stuff.
Right.
My kids are spoiled. They want to go everywhere across the world where we've never been. But you know what? It's memories. But just one day at a time.
Yeah.
If those trips happen, great.
Yeah.
If they
It's a
don't,
bonus,
they don't.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And have you found more joy in the kind of day-to-day stuff? Do you appreciate stuff more on a day-to-day basis?
No,
than maybe
I
doing-
hate it.
Right.
I hate it.
Right.
Such a slug.
Yeah.
It's just awful some days. It's just like, oh, this is so boring.
Right.
Do you mean as in
Like work life,
As in-
just
Yeah.
work, just life, just mundane
yeah,
stuff,
as in
right?
nothing to do with cancer.
Nothing
just-
to do with cancer,
Yeah.
just life in general. Sometimes you're like, oh, this is so rubbish.
No, but I think what I meant more was, are you more appreciative of stuff that maybe
Oh, I
you
see.
weren't so before?
No,
No.
I should be.
Yeah.
I think life gets so busy, and this is why I said that I don't really think about cancer every day, because job, home, running a house, it all becomes one thing, and I forget. I only remember when I have to take my medicine why I'm taking it.
Yeah.
You know, touch wood, I don't have any aches or pains. I don't have mobility issues. I have a great team. One thing I forgot to mention is I also am part of the local hospice team, because when my medical team referred me, I was like, dude, I'm not dying. They're like, no. They have in-house patient care as well, which is fantastic. Get free massages, free acupuncture, it's all free.
Right.
So they've been amazing, and I didn't realise how much support they actually give you. I'm with a doctor there as well who checks in with me every 3 months. So I'm in their system now, which is great.
But so on your journey, which is, we talked about being 4 years in nearly, isn't
Nearly
it?
4 years.
You've amassed
4 years in
so
June.
much knowledge, information, experience. You just talked about the hospice the other
Yeah.
day. All of this stuff. If someone's at the beginning of their journey, where do they start? Where do they even scratch the surface with all this information?
They don't. And I think that's where we fail, even in the private sector. They don't give you that information. You have to go look for it. And that's the sad thing about it. If you don't become your own advocate, you're not going to get any of this information. You have to find it yourself. The aftercare, when you're signed off, like when I was in remission, was awful. It was like, off you go. But you've just been through such a traumatic journey. What do you do? Right? So it's unfortunate. They give you leaflets, but no one's going to read leaflets.
The standard NHS leaflet.
No one's going to read that,
Yeah.
because you're already going through such a traumatic journey. You physically need somebody to tell you, these are your options. This is what you need to do. This is where you need to go. Let me help you book these places for you. Let me talk to this person for you. Do you know what I mean? You need
I'm
that bit of
assuming
hand-holding.
I'm also assuming that once you were in remission, probably no one said, you know, it can come back. You might want to follow this diet. You might want to do this. You might want this exercise.
No, they don't. So what they say to you, eat what you want. Eat all the carbs you want. Eat all the junk food that you want. You need all the energy. That's what they tell you on the first day.
It's just mind-numbingly frustrating.
Yeah. But as a normal patient, you would follow that
And how many
advice.
people would question that advice?
Nobody.
Because it's coming from a
But
healthcare
what
professional.
were we watching? Sorry to interrupt, but what were we watching yesterday
Yeah.
when the mayor of New York got really severe type 2 diabetes? He started going blind just out of nowhere, and he was in hospital, and he made an observation which is like, hold on, you're giving people the food that's put them here,
Yeah.
and you're continuing to feed them it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not saying it very well.
No, but it's exactly that.
It's true. That's exactly it. Because they don't know any better, right? And they can't be bothered. But nobody gives you that advice.
He started a foundation locally in New York that delivers plant and whole food to hospitals 1-2 days a week, specifically to try and help them get better, rather than the normal stuff that got them there in the first place. It's
You're supposed to
unbelievable.
eat 30 vegetables a week to give you... I mean, I don't eat 30 vegetables a week. I try. But the diet, the environment, we're just in a rut. And nobody tells you that.
Well, the diversity of the diet will help build your microbiome up and help your defense mechanism, won't it?
It's hard to not be cynical when you see that the medical industry is... I am going to come across like a conspiracy theorist, but...
It's not... You're questioning...
Well, it's so easy to see that, how... It's hard to not put the connection between the food industry helping the medical industry, the medical industry helping the pharmaceutical industry. They're not going to make any money if a lot of people are well. And
no, that's what I said to you. It's a business.
And I just can't help but look beyond that. And again, this isn't about... This podcast or conversation is about conspiracy theories, but it's just really frustrating in a way that actually you're having to do that level of research. And...
Yeah, because I want to, right? If I was a patient that just believed the doctors, I wouldn't be doing any of that. And I don't think it's the doctor's fault either, because they have so many patients, they don't have time. But they need to have somebody in their team to be able to give all of that information and help patients know who to call, what to do, let me book this, etc.
I mean, I think the one thing I will say, just to bring a little bit more... I listened recently to a book called Outlive or something like that by Peter Attia. I can't remember what it's called. It's fantastic, but he covers the four main... He calls them the four horsemen, which is heart disease, brain disease, and obviously cancer is one of them. I guess the really shocking thing, which I actually didn't realise about the research, he's a PhD, Stanford PhD, very, very, very detailed, is heart disease is the biggest killer that actually can be controlled. It's purely lifestyle, unless it's obviously a structural problem with your heart. But heart disease is a lifestyle disease. It's controllable. 87% of deaths in the US don't need to happen, but it's because of the standard US diet, etc., etc. The thing that actually really freaked me out, or at least was quite shocking, actually cancer is just random.
It's genetics, or something has basically gone wrong with your immune system. They say that it starts from your gut bio. So if your gut bio is not healthy, then everything else goes skew-if. Or if you've got prostate cancer, somebody in the family. Let's just go with that.
but I guess the point is regardless, you can just be unlucky. You can do everything right and still be unlucky.
Vegans, the most healthy people, have got cancer.
Yeah.
And they're just like, I'm the most healthiest person in this world. It's just something that you're wired has gone wrong.
But again, good for you for not being pissed off about it.
I have been pissed off though, Adam.
Right? Of course.
But I'm like over it now. Because why? I could be pissed off for the rest of my life. What's it going to get me? Cancer's not going to go away.
It's not going to get you up Kilimanjaro. That's
it's not, exactly. No, it's not.
I mean, you could go up there really angry.
I'm going to get up there.
throw rocks up.
Fuck you, cancer. Oh, God. It's such a refreshing outlook and attitude towards it all, though. Honestly, it's such an inspiration.
I think that it's hard work. And I know that a lot of people think that I'm inspiring, and thank you, but I just think cancer is a full-time job. It's literally relentless. It's full-time reading, researching, what's next. Oh, this might work. This might work.
Yeah. It must be draining, just trying to process everything.
It is. It's exhausting.
Yeah.
And some days I'm just exhausted with it all, and I just go in a hole because I'm like, I can't... Not today, cancer. I can't do you today.
And Harvey's been a rock, you said.
Oh, he's amazing.
Yeah.
He's amazing.
Legend. Yeah.
But most days is okay. you know? And so I have to go with that the lows are less and the highs are more.
Yeah. Well.
And tomorrow we live to live another tale.
Yeah. Well, we're keeping our fingers crossed for tomorrow.
Me too.
Yeah, thank you so much.
No, thank you. It's been great.
Chat. It's been wonderful. If I always ask a question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. If you could go back to GCSE Teena,
yeah,
with everything that you've amassed and or the experiences that you had since then, and give her one piece of advice, what would that be?
I think I wouldn't change.
Nothing. Amazing.
No.
So then maybe what advice would you give to someone else?
Who's been diagnosed?
Well, I mean, actually, do you know what? Just anybody. Like, if you met an 18-year-old...
I think if I met an 18-year-old me, I would say I don't think I lived enough in that whole generation. I wish I'd done more.
In your younger years?
In my younger years. Yeah. Because I feel like I'm living my younger years now. I'm always at a bloody concert. That's ridiculous. Nearly 50 out with the 18-year-olds.
Yeah, too right.
And I think I would want to save... I mean, I'm obviously travelling now because of the diagnosis, but I would want to keep the older years for travelling more and looking at life more and being out in the nature and exploring cultures. But on a cancer perspective, ask questions. Never be afraid to ask questions. And if you don't like the answer of it, question it again. Why are you doing that? Tell me more. What's it about? Don't just go with what the doctors are telling you. Because I think so many patients do that because they're scared, and I get that it's scary. But you have to really dig deep to find that kind of motivation, I guess, to ask those questions. And doctors don't like being asked questions. They hate it. Why are you asking me those questions? Because it's my bloody body. It's my life. I'm not just going to do what you ask me to do. You got to tell me why. What's it going to do? What are the side effects? What happens if it comes back? All of that, you need to get those questions answered and research.
And if your oncologist starts booking you in at early morning or afternoon appointments, you know you're asking the right questions.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, Teena, thank you from the bottom of our hearts for giving up some of your precious time to speak to us.
No problem. It's been great.
An absolute honour to have you here. Love you to bits, and thank you.
Great.
Thanks so much.
No worries.
Wow, there we are. Such an honest, open and raw account of a very personal battle with a horribly cruel disease, wasn't it?
Absolutely, but I have to say I was worried about this discussion, how I would, if I'd be asking the right questions, whether or not, be emotional. But actually I left the conversation feeling really energised and really positive, which I think is a real testament to, how she's tackling this situation, which, frankly, I can't really get my head around. But, absolutely just enormous respect but gratitude to meet someone taking a situation on like that.
Yeah, I completely agree. I just find it utterly unfathomable that there's so much evil and hatred in the world, and yet you get a beautiful soul like Teena struck down by such a cruel and evil disease. It's just incomprehensible, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, but at least she's a great example on how people can manage similar situations. And I thought it was really interesting how she was comparing someone else that she met who was potentially taking a slightly more negative approach. But yeah, absolutely phenomenal.
No, I completely agree, and I'm convinced that her outlook and positivity in the way she's tackling this head on will hopefully prolong her battle, and I'm sure she'll be an inspiration to everyone she meets along the way as well.
Absolutely. Brilliant. Well, coming up next, we've got some really interesting conversations with a psychiatrist, with someone from the world of sport and business. So lots of good stuff to look forward to. And thanks as always for the music by Neverlander. Until next time, there's another way.
So we're just here recording a few edits to Teena's podcast that we did yesterday, and it's towards the end of the day, and we just had a message in from Teena, who's clearly seen her oncologist towards the end of the day, like he likes to leave it. And if you remember yesterday, Teena was talking about there being 3 potential outcomes from her scan results. She has scans every 3 months, and the three outcomes she mentioned yesterday were no change, growth in the tumours, and a reduction in the tumours. Was there one more possible outcome or not? I know there were 3 or 4. So she was going into her 3-monthly scan today. Last time it hadn't really made a difference. She's changed some of her medication. Obviously, she talked about the other stuff that she's doing as well. She sent us a message while we've been sat here recording to say, and I'll just find it. The scan results are in. She's had a reduction in all tumours, and the doctor now thinks that she didn't have cancer in the liver in the first place.
What?
Yeah. It's unbelievable. She's so happy that her meds are working. This is the best result she's had since she's been having scans for a while.